Hello, good morning, everyone. Let's keep going with the reproductive system. So last class we finished up the female reproductive system. We're gonna do some review of that later on today with all the hormones and stuff. But let's go ahead and start with labeling the male reproductive system first. So over here we have an anterior view. Um, of the male reproductive system, like the internal structures. So let's put that down. This is in your study guide. So if you have a copy of that, please take it out. This is anterior view. And you can describe the male reproductive system as a series of ducts and glands. So the ducts will transport the semen out of the body, and along the way there are various glands that will be adding mixtures and secretions to the ducts to create the semen. And this is a little bit harder to tell what's what, but once we go into the sideway view, it is going to be a little bit more clear. So let's start at the bottom right here. These are the testicles. Okay, so P here, testicles. That is the male gonads where sperms are going to be produced through the process of meiosis, and the testicles are surrounded by a thin layer of skin, which is called the scrotum. Yeah, you cannot see that in the picture here, but we will have it in the next diagram. Now, on top of the testicles are these um, structures. Okay? This is called the epididymis. Epi is on top. I don't know what didymus means, but that's what it's called, epididymis. This is where the sperms um, mature and become mobile at this location, and they are stored here until release. So you can think of the epididymis as where the sperm is going to be staying, and while they're staying, they're gonna have swimming lessons essentially. They become mobile. The new sperm that are formed, they can't really move too much yet, so they fully mature at the epididymis. Epididymis. Next, we have a series of tubes, like I said, and there is a really long tube right here. It connects the epididymis all the way, right here. Okay, goes over here. Right? And that is called the vas deferens. VAS, vas deferens. Right? So the vas deferens basically transport the sperm, right, to the next portion of the male reproductive system. People can choose to have a vasectomy, and vasectomy basically is like cutting the vas deferens. And why would anybody want to do that? Well, if they don't want to have babies anymore, that's an option. Okay? Cutting the vas deferens, the person will still be able to produce semen, but there will be no sperm in it. Okay? It's a reversible process. If they change their mind later, they can reconnect it. So that's the vas difference. So from testicles to epididymis and then to the vas deferens. Now, I can show you another view here. Okay, you can see, um, that's we'll label it later. That's the testicles, and then that's the epididymis, and then oh, they actually don't have the vas deferens in this picture, but it would basically go like this. Okay, we can put that in later, and then it's gonna go through the prostate gland. Right? This is the prostate gland. It's gonna go right through it. Right, so let's color the prostate here. All right, there. Oh, sorry. I confused myself. That's not the prostate. That's the urinary bladder. I am so sorry. The prostate is below here. This is the urinary bladder. Urinary bladder. It's not part of the reproductive system, but it's close to it. Okay. And then uh, the prostate is right beneath it. Let me get another color for the prostate right here. Yeah. So that L right there, that is the prostate gland. Okay. So I'll tell you what the prostate gland do in a bit, but let's put a star right there. And there are other glands that are in the way as well. So let's color those. We have these pair of glands right here. Okay, those are called the seminal vesicles. Seminal vesicle. And last but not least, there are two tiny glands right here. Okay, those are called the bulbal, urethral. Okay, or sometimes it's called a Cowper's, as like the person who first described it, gland. So these three glands, basically, they add secretion to sperm and create the semen. Okay, I'll give you a moment to catch up. Okay. We also have another duct right here. Let me just try to color it for you with a slightly different shade of green. So that's the vas deferens, and then it's gonna come here and join with K over here. And that is called the ejaculatory duct. So contraction with the ejaculatory duct will push the semen forward uh, during ejaculation, as the name implies. Okay, so it's surrounded by smooth muscles. And then it's gonna go through the prostate right here, go through the prostate, past the bulbourethral gland, and this is basically the urethra. Okay, so the urethra is the common passageway for both urine and semen for the male reproductive tract. Now this up here, we have two more ducts, like a lot of tubes going on here. These are feeding to the urinary bladder, and those are the ureter, ureters. Okay. So those are all the labels. It's a little bit hard to visualize. I'm not gonna lie, but there are 3D models that I've provided on Luminate for you to go through. So what we're gonna do now is we're gonna take this thing and we're just gonna rotate a little bit so we can take a look at the same structures, but now from a mid-sagittal view. Mid-sagittal view. So here we go. Right, this is the mid-sagittal view. And right away, we can identify some of the similar structure as before. I'll try to use the same color, but no guarantee. So there we go. G right here, that's the testicles. And the skin right here that surrounds the testicle, that's the scrotum. Um, Spermatogenesis is actually very sensitive to temperature. It needs to be a little bit lower than 37 degrees Celsius, which is the normal body temperature. Um, it needs to be lower than that a little bit, around 36 degree, 36.5 degrees to be optimal. And so the scrotum will pull the testicles away from the body, so it doesn't overheat. However, when it's cold, then the scrotum will pull the testicles closer to the body. Okay, so it kind of helps adjust the position to achieve optimal condition for sperm production. All right, next we have this thing that wraps around the top of the testicle and it kind of comes down over here like a tail, like a little alien structure over it. That is the epididymis. But you know, the epididymis actually has different portion, and they go by different names. But you know, who cares? Let's just call them the same thing. Okay, epididymis. Okay, there's like the head of the epididymis, the body, and the tail of the epididymis. Let's just call it epididymis. And once again, that's where the sperm will mature and be able to become mobile. And it's going to be stored there until release. Now you don't see it in this picture. I'm not sure why they didn't put it in, but the vas deferens is going to basically go here and then it's going to come over here to the prostate and basically join with the the ureter. Okay, so we can label it right here. We can add your own. This is the vas deferens. Vas deferens. Can I just show you quickly in the diagram here? Give me 1 second, please. Over here, you see? That's the epididymis, and that's the vas deferens coming in. So please draw that. I guess we can draw a little bit more accurate. Let's try that one more time. It's gonna go from the epididymis. It's gonna come up to the front, and then it's gonna go kind of all the way over there. There we go. It's have to go past this seminal vesicle, right? These two darker blue structure. Okay, so vas deferens right here. Does anybody remember what this structure might be? We saw it in the female reproductive system as well. What is the name of that, huh? Yeah, that is the symphysis pubis. Very good. Symphysis pubis. Let's write down. It is where your two pubic bone join anteriorly at the front. Okay, so over here at the back, we have a pair of the seminal vesicle. Okay, just there are two of those. And the seminal vesicle, let's just write down the function here. It it secretes 60% of the semen volume. Okay? And it is a basic solution. Basic as in like opposite of acidic. Because the vagina is acidic, it will kill the sperm, and you need the semen to be basic to kind of neutralize it. Okay, basic solution with fructose. Okay, so sperm relies on fructose to create energy. Right? The swimming takes a lot of energy. The beating of the flagellum takes a lot of ATP. So they use fructose. Okay. Once it leaves the male's body, this would be the only source of nutrients for them. Okay, so that's the seminal vesicle. And then there is going to be, I'm totally not using the same color, am I? I forgot what I use. Okay, slightly bluish here. You can keep it the same if you want. But there it is. This M right here, it is the prostate gland. Is there a question? I saw something popped up. Let's see. Why, yeah, why not glucose? Yeah, that is a great question. I have no idea. But I guess I kind of do. It's even though glucose and fructose are like the same chemical structure, right? C6H12O6. Uh, but I think the fructose, because of its chemical structure, might pack a little bit more energy than than glucose does. So uh, that could be one of the reasons. Okay, that's the prostate gland. What does the prostate gland do? Prostate gland, the main function of prostate is just to secrete more basic solution. Okay, so it secretes a milky alkaline, alkaline same as basic, okay, basic solution. Um, the solution will that enhances sperm motility. Basically helps them Swim better. Okay. And right there is another tiny, tiny gland that is called the bulbal urethral gland, or Cowper's gland. That's like the older name. Like I said, people are trying to move away from naming them with people's name. Instead, it's just used more like a structural description. So it's bulbal because it's like a ball and it's near the urethra. So bulbal urethral gland. Okay, so what does this do? The secretion um, is released as a result of sexual stimulation. Okay, so like this doesn't get secreted along with the prostate gland and seminal vesicle. Okay, the secretion is gonna come before the actual ejaculation, and the job is to two things. Okay, number one, it's gonna flush the urethra because the urethra normally has like urine residue in it, right? Like after peeing, and you want to flush it a little bit to get rid of the acidity before the actual ejaculation. And the second function is when the bulbal urethral gland secretes its secretion, it's going to lubricate, okay? Lubricate the penis, okay, for intercourse. Okay, so this occurs before the ejaculation. Okay, what else do we have in this picture? Oops, wrong slide. Over here, there is going to be, let's not use red. It looks like it's peeing blood. Over here, let's go with purple. So that is what K is pointing at. And you know what that is already. That's the urethra. Okay, so over here at the back, we can add a label. That's the ejaculatory duct. So it's a good idea to compare this diagram with this diagram to kind of see where things are. A up here, that's the one I got wrong about urinary bladder. It sits on top of the prostate. By the way, this here is the anus. So, they say men over 40, doctor might sometimes do like a rectal examination. So they insert the finger into the anus and they're trying to feel the prostate gland. Okay? So if the prostate gland is enlarged, all right, then that's a cause for concern. And so it's something that they could feel physically through rectal examination. Enlargement of prostate could be indication of prostate cancer in some cases. We have a few other things here on the left. C here is called the corpus cavernosum, which is this tissue right here. There you go. And um, D is pointing at the other tissue right here. This is also called corpus. Corpus means a bundle, right? Corpus spongiosum. Let me color it first and I'll tell you what they are. I'm sure you have a pretty good idea of what it does right here. Right? So these are, okay, contains blood vessels to create an erection. Okay. Um, Two more things. That is called the gland penis, which is just like the head of the penis. And covered by that is covered by some skin. Yeah, skin is right here. Uh, that is called like the foreskin. That's the common name, but the fancy name is prepuce. And boys sometimes the parents decided to do circumcision for them, which would involve cutting off the foreskin. And that is the male reproductive system. Do we have any questions? No? Everybody good? All right. Let's go through the slides together. It's pretty much everything we talked about. Okay. You can compare the diagram we have with this one and just kind of match them up. Uh, oh, right. Let's go through the structures inside the testes, right? I'll draw it out for you, but this is the testicles, and then the inside the testicle, it's separated into little uh lobules, okay, like a segment. Okay. Think of like opening up an orange. Okay, inside the orange, the wedges, right? It's kind of like that in the testicles, right? Each wedge is called a lobule. Right? And inside these lobules, it's a bunch of tubes that are really packed together, like ramen. Okay, they are really closely packed together, but there will still be space between the noodles. The noodles are the tubes. Okay, so let me try to draw this out with you. I haven't drawn this in a while, so um, bear with me if I made some mistakes. Okay, so here we go. Testicles. Let's draw the testicles first. Here it is. Testicles. And like I said, inside the testicles, um, there will be these sections. Okay, these little wedges. We call them lobules. All right, so let's just draw a few here. Okay, you can draw a few more, a few less, doesn't matter. And then these are the tubules. Okay, and what we're gonna do is we're gonna pull one out, right? Just like we did with the muscle stuff, right? So there we go. There it's hollow. So this here I'll outline it. One of these sections, these wedges, it's called a lobule. And inside lobule, we have all these packed tubes. The tubes, they have a name. It's called the seminiferous tubule, seminiferous tubules. Okay, right there. And it's hollow. Okay. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a look at the cross section of this thing like that. You know what? Let's draw the thing a little bit smaller right here. There we go. Okay. I'll give you a moment to catch up. Okay, so that's a lumen in the middle. Again, yeah, my trusty toilet paper. This thing has been a blood vessel, has been a bong, and now it's the seminiferous tubules, okay? The inside is the lumen. Okay, that's where the sperm's gonna go. And we have some cells here. Yeah, we have some cells here. Please use a different color if you can. These are called inter oh no, they're called Sertoli cells. Sorry. Sertoli cells. And the job of the Sertoli cells is to provide structural support and secrete fluid to encourage spermatogenesis. And so what happens is you're gonna have these cells right here. I'm just gonna draw a little section of it. You can draw more. And so these are germ cells that will undergo spermatogenesis. And as they mature, right, as they do meiosis, they will move towards migrate. They will migrate towards the edge until they become the sperm. Okay, so the progression of meiosis, the progression of spermatogenesis, basically starts from the edge with the germ cell, and then the cell divides, and then it moves towards the center. Okay, like that. And you can draw it all the way if you want. Okay, I'm not going to do that. So this is the process of meiosis, spermatogenesis. Okay? And then get to the lumen. Right? So the sperm will then transport the tubes all the way, take them all the way to this thing up here, right? So it's all tubes. What is this thing that I just drew? Right here. What do you think that is? Huh? On top of the testicle. What would this be? That's right. That's the epididymis. Okay, so the tubes are all connected. Okay, so once the sperm breaks free from the walls of the seminiferous tubules, it will travel through the lumen all the way to the epididymis where they will be stored. I remember watching this sex ed video in high school, and it was was one of the most bizarre things I've watched. So they had all these actors who are all dressed in white, all these men dressed in white and with the white cap and everything. And I think they're supposed to represent the sperm. And then they're like all going down these water slides, right? This image really stuck to me, and I guess that's what's really happening. They're trying to depict the process here, right? The sperms would literally detach from the walls, and then it's quite like a water slide. It goes all the way. The slide takes them to the epididymis, where they will stay until it's finally time to be released. Okay. Now, I'm gonna try to draw another one, copy one of these. I mean, you don't have to. You can do it on your notes later. Okay, so like that's another part of the loop, and then maybe there is like another loop here because it's like the ramen I show you, right? The instant noodle, they all like loop back on itself, and you can make this 3D if you want. Yeah, this tube, maybe it's gonna come over here, right? And then this might be like another portion of the tube, right? Like coming from elsewhere. Um, but the point is this in between these seminuferous tubules, like the spacing between them, we have another kind of cell right here. Okay, so like you might have some of it here. Okay, and these cells are called the Leydig cells. Leydig cells or interstitial cells. Okay, so the function of these interstitial cells or Leydig cells uh, is to secrete testosterone, okay, which again promotes spermatogenesis. All right. The Sertoli cells are within the walls of the seminiferous tubules, but the Leydig cells are between the seminiferous tubule. So that is what's going on inside the testicles. Do you have any questions? All right. Let's just go through a few more slides. Oh, actually, over here, can you take a closer look at this picture? You can see this is the seminiferous tubules, the circle that we drew. And these are actually like these lines that you see here. Those are the tails of the sperm. It's about to detach and get washed through the lumen. Um, Spermatogonia is, and now we're getting very technical, but it's basically the germ cells, dividing, undergoing through stages of meiosis. And along the way, the cells, depending on which stage of the meiosis is in, it has different names. But doesn't matter. These are basically germ cells that will divide, 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 and it becomes the sperm. That's another seminuferous tubule. Another one, it's cross-section, right? It's a tube that has been cut. That's why it looks like circle. And between the seminiferous tubules, that's where you will find the interstitial cells, also known as the Leydig cells. Okay, I actually not sure if Leydig is a person. It sounds like a person. Okay, Anyway, you can look it up. And what's missing in this picture would be the Sertoli cells. Okay, so you would find like Sertoli cells somewhere here in the walls. Right? They're not really highlighted, so it's hard to identify from this picture, but they're there. All right, done. Oh, this is just like a random article. It's like 6 years old now. I remember reading this at night, and it says, this man went in for circumcision, but there was a little bit of a miscommunication, I guess, and then the doctor performed the vasectomy instead. So he got really angry, and then he sued the doctor and the facility, I guess, and he got $1 million from this situation. So I remember reading this on the bed, and then my wife is was sitting next to me, and I turned to her and I was like, "Man, for $1 million, I don't mind. I don't mind getting a vasectomy, right? Because it's reversible anyway, so you can always reconnect it if you change your mind." Oh, there is a question. Does the lumen contain any fluid to carry the sperm? Yeah, so eventually the glands will add various mixture to the lumen of the duct system, and that's where most of the fluid is coming in. But from the sperm, like if the sperm falls off directly into the lumen from the um, seminiferous tubules. It's not like completely dry in there either. Okay, there are some fluid that would help wash them off. Right. That's why I think the sex ed video I was talking about, uh, depicting people going down water slide. It's not like just dry. It's there's some moisture in there. Okay, so we talked about the seminiferous, sorry, talked about the seminal vesicles already, prostate and urethral glands. It's pretty much what I wrote down in the notes for you, so I'm not going to repeat myself. I do want to go through the FSH and the LH and the GnRH as well. So just to refresh your memory, this is the hypothalamus. And over here, that's the posterior pituitary, and that's the anterior pituitary. And last class, I told you the AP, anterior pituitary, has two hormones, FSH and LH. But in order to release these hormones, the hypothalamus is going to need to release something called GnRH. It's like the green light, the permission for anterior pituitary to release the FSH and the LH. Okay, so in female, we already looked at the process last class. Let me just quickly show you the flow chart again. We have the GnRH coming out, and then the anterior pituitary gland is going to release the FSH and the LH. FSH stands for follicle stimulating hormone, which is going to go to the ovary to trigger the development of the follicle. Essentially, that's oogenesis, right? Remember, meiosis in men are spermatogenesis, but in female, it's called oogenesis, the creation of the egg. So in this case, we are going to produce GnRH and FSH and LH, and the FSH will promote spermatogenesis in the seminiferous tubules. So we don't have follicles. The equivalent version of the follicle in us would be the spermatogonia, the germ cells that will become the sperm. And just like LH will promote the release of progesterone in female, in male, the LH will promote the release of testosterone. Okay? Uh, and then here it says when the amount of testosterone in blood is too high, it will go back to the hypothalamus and anterior pituitary gland to decrease their secretion through negative feedback inhibition, just like the female one. Once you produce the progesterone in the female body, they go back to the hypothalamus and the anterior pituitary to turn them off, right? Negative feedback. So same story here. Replace the word progesterone with testosterone. It will also go back to the brain to inhibit the release. Now, it's much clearer when you have it in a picture. Right? So at the beginning, we have the hypothalamus releasing the GnRH. GnRH goes to anterior pituitary. Then we have FSH and LH. Right? For us, it's like simultaneous. Right? It's not like separate into two cycles, two portion of the cycles. And then the FSH goes to stimulate the Sertoli cells, which in turn stimulate spermatogenesis. The Sertoli cells are the cells that is, in the lumen, right? Sorry, in the walls of the seminiferous tubules, right? We drew it. And then the LH will stimulate the Leydig cells. Leydig cells are also called the interstitial cell, right? And in response, they will secrete testosterone, which will further promote spermatogenesis. But at the same time, the testosterone is going to go back and negatively inhibit. It's going to turn it off so we don't, have too much testosterone. There's also another hormone called inhibin, which does the same thing. Okay, we're not going to worry too much about that. So if you want to add to our diagram here, basically the over here for the Sertoli cells, we're gonna have stimulation from FSH, follicle stimulating hormone. And then for the Leydig cells right here, right, these pink arrows, it means stimulation. Right, so this one is going to be stimulated by the LH. Okay. And if you want, you can also add a little bit here. I guess I'll just use the pink arrows again. The Leydig cells will secrete testosterone. And these testosterone is going to stimulate the spermatogenesis. All right. So everything is kind of interconnected. But with high testosterone, you want to go back to the hypothalamus. You want to go back to the AP and shut down the GnRH and the FSH and LH, at least for the moment, okay, um, until you need them again. Okay, that is all for the reproductive system. Now, I do want to go through the, give me a second. You can figure these out on your own. It's pretty straightforward. I do want to go through the hormone charts with you over here. Okay, so let's do this one first. This one right here. It's again in the study guide. Let me just copy it over. All right. I strongly encourage you to organize hormones using the hormone chart. It will help you memorize them a little bit better. We've learned quite a few hormones now, right? There's aldosterone, there's ADH, there's ANH, calcitonin, PTH, And now we have a bunch for the reproductive system. So let's fill this in. Okay, so I'm gonna use three colors. If it's black, then it's true for both male and females. Um, red for females only, blue for males only. All right, so let's take a look here. Gonadotropin releasing hormone GnRH, the location of secretion. Where is the hormone released from? Okay, do you remember? We talked about it several times already. Do you remember where GnRH is released from? Absolutely correct. That is the hypothalamus. What trigger the release of GnRH? Now that's a little bit tricky. Um, for female, it would be low progesterone. Okay, so think about the corpus luteum um, breaking down. Then progesterone drops, right? And what happens when progesterone drops? Well, when progesterone drops, then these inhibitions are no longer there. You turn off the brake. You release the brake, basically. Then GnRH is going to release. Okay? But that's not it. You can see over here, estrogen has a positive feedback on the hypothalamus. So low progesterone or high estrogen. Okay. High estrogen via positive feedback. Right, so two possibilities. What about men? Right, just thinking along the same line, what would be the trigger for GnRH in men? Okay. What hormone would it be? That's it, low testosterone. Okay, so I already closed the PowerPoint slides, but like in the slides we saw, high testosterone will suppress GnRH. Okay. So low testosterone will allow the release of GnRH. I guess like some people have trouble visualizing this. Let me draw it out for you, okay? Just, for for the purpose of illustration. So if you increase GnRH, okay, let's do male here. If you increase GnRH, then you increase FSH and LH, right? Which then increases testosterone. I'm just gonna put T. And then what's gonna happen to increase testosterone? Well, you already have testosterone in the system. Let's not make more. So you will decrease GnRH because it travels back to the brain and put the brakes on it. If you decrease GnRH, what's going to happen is you will decrease FSH and decrease LH. But if you decrease LH, the next thing that's going to happen is you will decrease testosterone. And once the testosterone is low, then you release the brakes. Then GnRH is going to go up again, and then it just keeps on going. Right? It's like a thermostat. You set it at whatever 20 degrees Celsius. If it's too cold, the heat comes on, but the heat doesn't keeps on turning on, right? Once the heat hits the set point, it's gonna shut off the heat until the temperature drops again, right? Until the testosterone drops again, then you turn the heat on again. right? And you release the GnRH again. So this just keeps on looping. Right? So that's why I said low testosterone will trigger the release of GnRH. Okay, I hope this um, illustration help you understand it a little bit better. Okay, effects. What is it going to do? Well, the effects is the same for both male and female. Right? Trigger the release of FSH and LH from the anterior pituitary gland. Okay, next, follicle stimulating hormone. Um, location of secretion. Where is this thing produced? Well, if you have been following along, right, the FSH is going to be secreted from the anterior pituitary. Okay. Same thing for the luteinizing hormone, also anterior pituitary. And the trigger? What is the trigger for FSH and LH? Well, over here it says GnRH triggered the release of these things. So the trigger would be increase in GnRH. It's true for both males and females. And you can add for the female, it is positive feedback from estrogen. Oops, for female. What does it do? In female, follicle stimulating hormone basically promotes follicle development. You can say it triggers the follicular phase. And since there are no follicles in men, FSH will promote spermatogenesis. Okay. By stimulating Sertoli cells. We drew it in our diagram here. Okay, I'll come back here for a second. Look here. You see, the FSH is gonna stimulate the Sertoli cells. Next, luteinizing hormone, LH. What does LH do? LH is, we can say LH surge. Again, this is in female. What event does LH surge trigger? Surge is like sudden sharp increase. What event is triggered by that? Ovulation, that's it. Okay. And after ovulation, indirectly, the LH will, after ovulation, right, cause the formation of corpus luteum and then increase progesterone. And for men, we do not have progesterone. Instead, the LH will stimulate interstitial cells in testicles to produce testosterone. I don't know what luteinizing means. Yeah, I think it's related to the luteal phase. Actually, I don't know. Maybe the luteal is named after the luteinizing hormone, or like one or the other. Um, Not sure. Let's Google it. Let's see if they have an answer. No, it doesn't mean anything. It's yeah, it's the name of the hormone. Yeah, I guess not everything has a meaning. All right, that's that. Do we have another table? I think we do. Boy, oh boy. Here we go. Hey, so location of secretion for estrogen is the ovary. Ovaries. Specifically, the developing follicle. The trigger, the stimulus for releasing estrogen would be FSH. Okay, you just read the previous line here, right? You see? FSH promotes follicle development, triggers follicular phase, and then, releases the estrogen. Actually, you know what? Here, triggers ovulation, um, yeah, and the luteal phase, right? I, I, I guess we can put that in. Luteal, excuse me, luteal phase, just for completion. And over here, the stimulus would be FSH. And the effects, okay, so effects would be to thickens endometrium That's the lining of the uterus with the blood vessels by promoting blood vessel formation. Number two, increases GnRH, LH, and FSH through, you should know this by now, positive feedback. But it's not just for these things, right? Estrogen also helps maintain and develop female sexual characteristics, especially at puberty, right? When the body changes, it's part of it is due to the estrogen. Okay, we can also put placenta here if pregnant. Okay, progesterone also ovaries, and this time it is the corpus luteum, the leftover tissue from ovulation creates the corpus luteum and also placenta if pregnant. Trigger here would be mostly LH, right, following ovulation. And what does it do? Well, I'm gonna be lazy here. Just copy this whole thing. It's pretty much the same with one key exception. I will use a different pink here to highlight the distinction. Instead of increasing GnRH, you'll be lowering these things through negative feedback. Okay? But everything else is the same. Are we okay so far? Anything? Okay. Just have one more hormone to go here, which is testosterone. So location of secretion for testosterone, that would be the interstitial cells or the Leydig cells in testicles. Okay. AKA trigger We say promote spermatogenesis. That's probably, um, you know, just keep it simple like that. And lower GnRH through negative feedback. Okay. I think that's a good place to stop for today. I really need you to memorize these loops, okay? These drawings, these flowchart, because if you've memorized this, we have a few more loops coming for the last lecture, okay? But those loops are very similar to this loop in terms of the theme and where they are coming from. So spend some time, remember this. Um, then those new ones that I'm going to teach you will be much easier because you will just be able to relay it to this loop here. Okay, so memorize the loops, memorize the hormones here, and then we just gonna have one more lecture. Sorry, one more lecture to learn. Okay, that's gonna take two classes next week. Next week is the last week, right? Of learning new things. Okay, and then we're probably gonna have like review before the final. Where to find a hormone flow chart? Uh, no, it's just this one. It's just this one that we did. If like one event leads to another. So just practice drawing it and have a visual um I don't know what I'm trying to say. Have a visual picture of of what it looks like in your head. It will make next class easier. Okay. So final test will just be lecture 10, the bone stuff and the muscles, which already is a lot to memorize. Reproductive as well as the hormones. Okay. We also have the lab, right? Of course. Yep, that's it for today, guys. Thank you. See you all on Monday. Is there positive feedback in male? Yes, there is, but not in terms of these hormones that we're talking about. Right? It's in some other context, right? Um, like clotting of blood, that's a positive feedback. Once you start clotting if you have cut, once you start clotting, you want to recruit more platelets and more fibrinogen, for example, to completely seal. It exaggerates the clotting effect, right? So, positive feedback doesn't necessarily always have to be in the context of hormones. It could be in the context of chemical reactions as well. Okay, that's it. Uh, Bye for now.